Vitality is a choice, not an accident. For men over 60, this truth carries more weight than ever. We often hear people say, well, that's just part of getting older, as if the decline in energy, strength, and drive is a pre-written script etched into the timeline of aging. But that narrative, though common, is false. Aging is inevitable, but decay is not. The human body, especially the male body, is capable of remarkable renewal even into later years, if it's given what it needs and if the man behind it chooses to act with intention. What separates the man who ages with grace, clarity, and power from the one who feels constantly tired, foggy, and defeated isn't just genetics. It's discipline. It's structure. It's the decision to stop living passively and start living deliberately. Every day presents a simple but profound question. Will you act in your best interest, or will you drift with the current of convenience and excuses? That decision starts with what you put on your plate. It starts with what you refuse to consume. It starts with how much respect you're willing to show your own biology. The body is not something to be taken for granted. It is not some machine that simply runs until it breaks. It is an ecosystem, a complex, dynamic system, constantly trying to maintain balance, regenerate, and protect itself. But it needs fuel, it needs order, it needs direction. And vegetables, yes, the right vegetables, are not just side dishes or filler. They are medicine. They are information for your cells. They are tools for restoration. In youth, you can get away with junk. You can ignore your body's quiet warnings and still wake up the next day with a full tank. But that grace diminishes with time. After 60, the margin for error shrinks, and everything counts more. Nutrients, hydration, sleep, mindset, each of these becomes amplified in its importance. Your energy is no longer automatically replenished. It must be earned. And vegetables like beets, spinach, and broccoli, rich in nitrates, magnesium, antioxidants, and vital micronutrients, aren't just about eating healthy. They're about taking charge of your trajectory. Choosing vitality means refusing the slow death of resignation. It means standing in front of the mirror and refusing to believe that your best days are behind you. That is a lie fed to you by culture, advertising, and sometimes even your own mind. The truth is, vitality can be cultivated like a garden. It takes time. It takes repeated effort, but it produces something real, something that no pill or quick fix ever could. The man who chooses vitality also chooses responsibility. He knows that how he feels today affects how he shows up tomorrow, for his wife, for his grandchildren, for his community, for himself. He understands that fatigue is not always a result of aging. It's often the symptom of neglect. And while you cannot control every part of aging, you can influence most of it, more than you've been led to believe. So when you sit down to eat, or decide whether or not to move your body, or think about whether to skip the vegetables for the sake of taste or laziness, remember, every choice you make is either building your vitality or draining it. And those small, almost invisible decisions come over weeks, over months, over years. Vitality doesn't happen to you, it happens because of you. And that shift in mindset, that refusal to accept slow decline as fate, that's when the real transformation begins. Energy is not something that appears out of nowhere. It's not just about feeling awake or drinking another cup of coffee. Energy is a reflection of internal order, of biological systems working in harmony, not in chaos. When we talk about energy in men over 60, we're not talking about some mystical force or motivational slogan. We're talking about biochemistry, cell function, and the ability of your body to produce and sustain life force through deliberate support of its natural systems. The human body is astonishingly complex. Every heartbeat, every thought, every movement requires fuel, coordination, and balance. Energy is produced at the cellular level inside structures called mitochondria. These are the power plants of your body, but they don't just work because you exist. They work because you feed them properly. They work because your body is clean enough, rested enough, hydrated enough, and supported by nutrients. That's what biological order means. Systems not just operating but functioning with efficiency and minimal interference. As you age, these systems become more vulnerable to disruption. Inflammation creeps in, Insulin sensitivity weakens, free radicals accumulate, hormones shift. Your mitochondria don't perform like they used to, not because they can't, but because the structure around them has started to erode. The solution is not to chase stimulation or rely on medications to mask fatigue. The solution is to restore order, to return to the foundations of biology and rebuild the internal systems that produce sustainable energy. This is where food becomes more than food. Certain vegetables contain compounds that literally support mitochondrial health, reduce inflammation, and balance hormone levels. Leafy greens like spinach are packed with magnesium, which helps regulate ATP, the energy currency of your cell. Beets increase nitric oxide, which improves blood flow and oxygen delivery. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli help detoxify the liver, supporting cleaner blood and more efficient nutrient transport. This isn't a trendy diet tip. It's a return to the raw, unfiltered science of life. Without order in the body, everything begins to slow down. You wake up tired. You can't think clearly. Your drive diminishes, not just physically but emotionally. The body in disorder becomes sluggish. Motivation fades because your biology can't back it up. You may still want to live with purpose and intensity, but the engine under the hood isn't firing correctly. That's not about mindset. It's about physiology. And physiology can be repaired. That's the hope and the challenge. You cannot talk about energy without talking about discipline. Not the kind of discipline that demands perfection, but the kind that requires consistency. Energy is the reward for giving your body what it needs day after day. You can't cheat your biology. You can't shortcut cellular repair or hormone balance, but you can support it through rest, clean food, movement, hydration, and a commitment to structured, intelligent living. Men over 60 often believe that fatigue is just part of aging, that it's something they have to accept. But in many cases, it's not aging, it's disorder. It's years of accumulated small decisions that led the body away from efficiency and into dysfunction. The beautiful part is that biology responds quickly to change. You begin to remove the interference and the system begins to heal. You restore order and energy returns. So the next time you feel tired, unmotivated, or foggy, ask yourself, is this just age? Or is it a system out of balance? Because energy isn't just about sleep or mood. It's a reflection of your internal structure, what you've built or neglected. And the good news is, biological order can be rebuilt with time, with effort, with knowledge, and with the right vegetables on your plate, acting not as food but as tools of renewal. Masculine performance is often talked about in vague terms: strength, stamina, drive, confidence. But underneath all those qualities lies something far more fundamental: the health and integrity of your cells. Every movement you make, every decision, every emotional response, every intimate moment is driven by cellular function. When your cells are strong, nourished, and protected, your performance physically, mentally, and sexually follows. When your cellular systems are inflamed, oxidized, or starved of essential nutrients, that performance begins to suffer. The decline isn't always obvious at first. It can be subtle: slower recovery after activity, a drop in focus, less passion, more hesitation, and too often that slow decline is accepted as normal aging. But the truth is, performance is not primarily about age. It's about integrity at the cellular level. The male body is designed to perform, not just in the gym or in bed, but in life, to carry, to build, to protect, to think strategically, to lead. That kind of performance requires high-functioning systems, testosterone balance, cardiovascular health, mental clarity, muscular strength, emotional resilience. All of these are biological outputs. They don't happen in a vacuum. They come from cells that are well-fed, well-protected, and operating in a low-stress, high-efficiency environment. You can't build a strong house on a weak foundation, and you can't sustain masculine performance on a system that's nutritionally bankrupt or chronically inflamed. One of the most overlooked aspects of male health after 60 is the role that oxidative stress and inflammation play in breaking down cellular health. Over time, exposure to toxins, poor diet, lack of movement, and chronic stress degrade the quality of your cell. Your mitochondria, which power your muscles and brain, become less efficient. Your hormones begin to shift, not just due to age, but because your body no longer has the raw materials it needs to support balance. Testosterone drops, cortisol rises, blood flow slows, and the result is a man who begins to feel like a shadow of his former self. Not because his time is up, but because his biology is asking for help and getting silence in return. The great lie is that this is irreversible, that nothing can be done, but that's not true. The body is constantly regenerating. Cells turn over. Hormones can rebalance. Mitochondria can recover, but they need the right support. This is where food, specifically vegetables, rich in essential compounds, becomes a tool, not just a meal. Cruciferous vegetables like kale and broccoli help detoxify estrogenic compounds that suppress male hormone function. Beets support circulation, improving oxygen and nutrient delivery. Spinach provides magnesium and folate, vital for energy and recovery. These are not small things. They are the building blocks of masculine health. Restoring cellular integrity is not just about nutrition. It's also about belief. You have to believe your performance is worth fighting for, that your energy, your strength, your intimacy, your clarity, these are not things to be surrendered to age without resistance. They are aspects of yourself that can be reclaimed through action, through structure, and through respect for your biology. A man who refuses to neglect his cellular health is a man who ages with intention, not apathy. You can't fake performance. You can't cover it up with more coffee, more stimulation, or more denial. True performance is honest. It comes from a body that's working, from cells that are alive, from a mind that's focused, and from a spirit that's engaged. Masculine performance is not a gift. It's the outcome of care, of responsibility, and of alignment between how you want to live and what your body needs to make that life possible. When you protect your cells, you protect your power. When you nourish them, you unlock what time alone cannot take from you, your capacity to live, to lead, and to perform like a man who still has more to give. Discipline begins on your plate. That statement may sound simple, but for men over 60, it holds profound truth. The choices you make about what you eat every day don't just affect your waistline, they influence your energy, mental clarity, immune function, hormonal balance, and overall vitality. At this stage of life, your body is less forgiving. You can't get away with the same dietary habits you might have in your 30s or 40s. And yet this is also the age when the right decisions have the power to radically improve the quality of your life. The first battle of every day isn't fought in the gym or the office. It's fought in the kitchen. Food is not just fuel. It's a message to your body. Every bite communicates something at the cellular level. You're either signaling your body to repair, energize, and regenerate, or you're promoting inflammation, fatigue, and dysfunction. Most men don't realize this until it's too late. They feel tired, unfocused, or low on drive, and they look for external fixes, more coffee, medications, or empty stimulants. But the root issue is internal. You can't expect performance from a body you're not properly feeding. That's where discipline enters. Discipline is not about deprivation. It's about consistency. It's about honoring your biology enough to make choices that support your long-term health, even when no one's watching, even when it's inconvenient. And in many ways, it starts with vegetables, not trendy supplements or expensive powders, but real nutrient-dense food. Leafy greens like spinach and kale supply magnesium and antioxidants that support your brain and muscle function. Cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and Brussels sprouts help regulate hormones and detoxify the body. Beets enhance circulation and endurance. These foods are foundational, not optional. They aren't just sides on your plate. They are the very tools your body uses to stay alive and strong. For men over 60, one of the most dangerous mindsets is resignation. The idea that this is just how it is now. That kind of thinking destroys discipline, because discipline requires belief that your actions still matter, that change is possible, that vitality isn't something reserved for younger men. You don't need perfection to reclaim your health. You need structure. You need repetition. You need to stop seeing food as entertainment and start seeing it as an investment. Each meal either deposits or withdraws from your future. You also need to take full ownership of your choices. No one is coming to fix it for you. No one else can make your meals, plan your day, or build your habits. That's your job. And every time you choose to prepare a real meal instead of reaching for processed junk, you are reinforcing a mindset of control. You are reminding yourself that your health is your responsibility. That's not pressure. That's power. Because once you recognize that your plate is your battleground, you gain the ability to fight back. The good news is discipline builds over time. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You need to maybe you swap one unhealthy snack for a raw vegetable. Maybe you commit to cooking at home 3 nights a week. Maybe you learn how to enjoy food again, not for its dopamine hit, but for how it makes you feel 2 hours later, 2 days later, 2 decades later. That kind of relationship with food is earned. In the end, discipline on your plate becomes discipline in your life. You become sharper, more focused, more capable. You make better decisions in every area because your brain isn't fogged with sugar and your body isn't dragging through the day. And when challenges come, as they always do, you meet them as a man who is ready, not because he's perfect, but because he's prepared, because he started with something as simple as quiet and as powerful as what he put on his plate. The war against apathy doesn't start with motivation or a powerful speech. It starts with nutritional precision. Apathy is not just a mindset. It's not just laziness or a lack of willpower. For many men over 60, apathy is the symptom of an undernourished body and an overwhelmed system. When your cells are starved of essential nutrients, when inflammation is quietly spreading, when your hormones are off balance, and your blood sugar fluctuates like a roller coaster, your brain and body naturally pull back. You feel dull, disconnected, and tired. You lose the fight, not because you're weak, but because your biology is under siege. Energy, clarity, drive. These don't emerge from nowhere. They are built from the inside out. The way you eat plays a direct role in whether you wake up with purpose or just go through the motion. Nutritional precision means knowing what your body truly needs and delivering it consistently, not occasionally, not when it's convenient, but every single day. Your body operates on rules, not wish. You cannot feed it processed food, sugar-laden snacks, and nutrient-void calories and then expect it to perform like a well-oiled machine. That contradiction is what leads to apathy. You're trying to summon strength from a system that's breaking down. As you age, your body becomes more sensitive to imbalances. Foods that once had little effect on you now have consequences. Heavy meals leave you drained. Sugary drinks spike your blood pressure. Missed meals destabilize your mood. This sensitivity is not weakness. It's feedback. It's your biology telling you it demands more care, not less. And when you begin to eat with precision, choosing foods that heal, restore, and energize, you start to notice something. The fog begins to lift. The weight on your mind starts to light. That spark of focus, that interest in life, that sense of purpose, it starts to return, not because of motivation, but because your body finally has what it needs to support the mind. Vegetables are one of the most overlooked weapons in this battle. Most men don't realize that compounds found in dark leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, and root vegetables directly impact mental health, energy, and performance. Magnesium, found in spinach, calms the nervous system and helps regulate sleep. Folate supports brain function. Sulforaphane in broccoli helps reduce oxidative stress that contributes to brain fog and fatigue. Nitrates in beets improve blood flow to the brain and muscles, giving you stamina and sharper cognition. These are not just nutritional trivia. These are tools of transformation. It's easy to fall into a pattern of apathy when every day feels the same, when your body feels sluggish, and when nothing you do seems to make a difference. But the truth is, every precise choice adds up. A glass of water instead of soda, a handful of raw veggies instead of chips, a home-cooked meal instead of fast food. These may seem small, but they are strategic strikes in a long war against decline. You are sending a message to your body. I'm here. I haven't given up. Precision also brings structure, and structure brings momentum. Once you start eating with purpose, other things start to change. You sleep better. You move more. You think more clearly. You're less reactive and more responsive. You remember your goals. You remember what it feels like to care again. Not because life suddenly got easier, but because you started winning the fight internally. And that's where it always begins. Apathy thrives in chaos. It thrives when your diet is random, your habits are weak, and your biology is in survival mode. But with nutritional precision, you create order. You give your body the tools to recover, to grow, to show up again. That's not magic. It's responsibility. And for any man who still has something to give, something to fight for, something to lead, it starts with what's on your plate. Because food is not just sustenance, it's strategy. And every bite is either fueling the fire or letting it die. Reviving purpose in the later stages of life is not about chasing lost youth. It's about taking responsibility for the vessel that carries your mind, your will, and your identity. For men over 60, the world often sends a quiet message. Slow down, fade into the background, settle for less. But purpose doesn't retire. Purpose doesn't disappear just because your hair turns gray or your joints ache. What does disappear, slowly and quietly, is energy, clarity, and motivation. When biological responsibility is neglected, the good news is that purpose can be revived. And it starts by taking full ownership of your biology. Biological responsibility means no longer treating your body as an afterthought. It means recognizing that how you feel, how you think, and how you show up each day is directly influenced by how well you care for the physical foundation of your life. The body is not separate from the mind or soul. It is the carrier. When the body is sluggish, inflamed, or malnourished, it limits everything else. You can't lead, build, teach, protect, or love at your fullest capacity if the machine is breaking down. But when you start feeding it properly, moving it daily, and respecting its signals, something powerful happens. Your capacity to live with purpose returns. Many men in their 60s and beyond start to question their value. They feel like their best contributions are behind them. But that feeling often stems not from reality, but from exhaustion, physical, mental, and emotional. And exhaustion is not just a result of workload or stress, it's biological. When your cells are depleted, when your hormones are out of balance, when your diet is filled with inflammatory foods, your body becomes a weight instead of a weapon. You begin to retreat, not because you want to, but because you don't have the fuel to engage. That's not a crisis of purpose. That's a crisis of biology. Taking responsibility means choosing to reverse that. It means looking at your diet not just as a source of calories, but as a source of leadership. The vegetables you avoid, the hydration you skip, the sleep you sacrifice, those aren't harmless decisions. They compound, they shape the quality of your days. But the inverse is also true. The beets that improve your blood flow, the spinach that restores magnesium, the broccoli that clears toxins. These are choices that build the foundation of a more purposeful life. They aren't accessories. They are essentials. Purpose is not something that floats above you. It's something that flows through you. And that flow is blocked when your biology is ignored. That's why the men who stay sharp, focused, and driven into their 70s and 80s are almost always men who have taken care of their physical health, not just in the gym, but in the kitchen, not with shortcuts, but with consistency. They understand that every day is a chance to either build or weaken the vessel. They don't wait for a health scare. They act now. When you take biological responsibility, you're doing more than eating vegetables or skipping sugar. You're making a declaration. You're saying, I'm still in the game. I still have something to give, and I will not surrender my edge to passivity. That declaration has ripple effects. You show up better for your family. You think more clearly in conversation. You feel more alive, more useful, more grounded in who you are. That's the power of honoring your biology. This isn't about perfection. It's about progress, about refusing to believe that decline is the only road forward. There is another path, but it requires ownership. Purpose is not a mystery. It's the natural result of being healthy enough, strong enough, and clear enough to serve the people and causes you care about. That clarity comes when your biology stops fighting you and starts working for you. And that only happens when you take full responsibility, when you stop outsourcing your health and start leading it. That's when purpose wakes up again, not by accident, but by design.